Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the SuperShow podcast, where tonight we're going to party like it's episode 99, because, lads, in the immortal words of Will Smith, hold up, it is. But before I get your guys' hot takes on just how long this podcast has run for, I've got to inform you that there's another reason to party in today's episode.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because, for the first time ever, lads, the SuperShow has a sponsor.
God damn.
Insert gasps and rapid applause there.
We're in the big leagues now.
We are in the big leagues. We've officially made it because this episode of the Super Show is brought to you by Manscaped. So stay tuned until later on in the show to find out how you can not only get 20% off and free shipping by using the code SuperShow at manscaped.com, but also to hear Jonesy regale us with tales of how he shredded his nuts to ribbons as a teenager, all in search of that silky smooth finish, which is now, I'll give you a spoiler alert, a lot more achievable thanks to Manscaped. We're going to hear from them more later on in the show.
Love
You think I would have learned after the first time, but no.
Yeah, apparently your wife told me behind your back that she was a little bit put off by the scars, the horrible scars that adorn your ballsack, but she's been able to look past it.
And Jonesy's mom did tell me that he used to use a cheese grater, and that's why they are horribly scarred. So don't do that.
There was no internet in those days. I could get whatever I could off the back of dirty old newspapers that I found, and someone said that's the way to do it.
How are
So
you
I
to
gave
know?
it a try.
Young and impressionable.
Exactly. If you didn't have a subreddit to tell you how to shave your balls, you were basically, it was a guessing game. You know, no one knew better than anyone else.
You just asked the bigger kids, and the bigger kids always lied.
But fellas, no need for any mangling of testes anymore, as we'll find out later.
As we will find
Jesus,
out later.
mate, if you're going down to the testes, you've gone far too low.
Wait, are the testes not the things we're shaving?
No, mate, that's just scrotum.
So wait,
The testes are
sorry,
inside the bag.
Testes are the... Oh, yeah, okay,
They're inside.
Okay. Fair enough.
If you're grating down to the
Jonesy's going epidermal.
Is this your guys' way of telling me you don't put your Lawnmower 4.0 inside your sack? You make a small incision in the base, no?
Not meant to do that.
Jesus.
No, okay. See, this is why communication is important. This is why social media is important. And if social media is important to you, as it is to us, then you can communicate with us using social media by leaving a comment on our YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube, or you can reach out to us on Twitter. The handle is @SuperShowPod. All topics, including the well-being of your ballsack, completely welcome.
Wow.
And hey, if the idea of hearing us talking about our balls and shaving our balls while looking at our faces is a little bit off-putting to you, then great news, I also have a solution. That's what the Super Show is all about, practical solutions. And the answer to your prayers is the audio version of this podcast, which you can get at all good audio podcasting platforms. Did I say that right? Probably.
You did.
Talking about Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, head over there, get listening, rate it 5 stars, and you can get the deluxe experience of this podcast. And by deluxe, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to stare at us. Some people genuinely want that privilege, lads. Can you blame them?
It's a perk.
Not at all.
For sure.
Exactly. Do you know what else is a perk? Listening to this show in a quasi-live format. That's right, because if you think pressing play on Spotify or Google Podcasts gives you a rush, nothing will give you quite a rush as Paisley Radio. That's right, we are still internet radio Chad stars. I think there was a word in there that I'd forgotten. And if you want to join us in our internet radio pilgrimage, then head over to paisleyradio.com Thursdays at 10 p.m. It's repeated on Mondays. And once again, thank you to the Paisley Radio gang for their ever-loving support.
Big shout out to the Scots.
What's great is that we're recording this. We're recording this Thursday night at 10 p.m. or just after. So right now, if we were to go over to Paisley Radio, we'd hear ourselves chat.
We should do that one day. We should do like super showception. I like it.
React to ourselves.
That could be quite an interesting niche, you know, like, yeah, I like it.
Oh God, the next evolution of reaction videos, reacting to yourself. And then you could do a video reacting to the reaction of reacting to yourself.
Yeah, that was like in the
terrifying.
Bo Burnham's Inside. He did a skit about that, which was actually pretty fucking well done. Fair play. But yeah, Jamie, when you said like to hear us live, I thought you had leaked the confidentiality that we were, you know, the confidential aspect of what we're trying to do on Broadway. But you've kind of let the cat out of the bag now.
We are working on a Broadway spectacular, an arena Broadway spectacular, I should say, because we wanted, in fact, specifically to have a 360-degree stage so we could perform to all angles. We're still working out the details.
While you watch us shave our balls.
Yeah.
I hope it's as popular as our last public performance or public outing, because having about 7 people turn up would be good if we were on a 360-degree stage shaving our balls. So.
And in fact,
I think just the crew members alone will be enough to cover that quota.
Yeah,
true. Just having 5 people pulling the curtains, and we've already peaked in terms of our live attendance rating. We actually were in discussions with the famous Mr. Lin-Manuel Miranda about turning the Super Show into something of a musical. Unfortunately, negotiations didn't get very far. He wanted to turn all 3 of us black, which we thought would be a little bit of a sticking point.
Yeah, also Jonesy kept on calling him Linda, so it didn't help things.
Yes. His hair was long at the time. He was giving off sort of minor Karen vibes.
Minor Karen vibes.
Yeah.
Wow,
and
I like it.
Do you know who else gives me minor Karen vibes? Not necessarily in a Western sense, but in his native land.
I don't know where this is going. But,
I don't know.
Genuinely, Hideo Kojima.
Wow.
I think that he's thrown his food back in the face of a few waiters in his time.
I can see it.
Really?
No.
I can't see that.
I could totally see it. Like these kind of like auteurs, these you know, the kind of peak of their craft. I can see them being like absolute assholes.
Yeah,
like behind
some of them for sure. I don't know about Kojima.
I can imagine that, like, because he always sends pictures on his Instagram about like, oh, this is the fucking sandwich that I'm eating at my desk, where there's a little clue about what I'm fucking editing the trailer for this time. And they're like, there's Japanese sandwiches that are very kind of like nicely packaged and everything. But I imagine that if he gets the wrong one, he takes a bite out of it and he spits it back in the person that served it to him, because he's like, he didn't have a sense of existential dread and sans lingua franca fucking bullshit. And he's just like, fuck this shit,
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't Kojima enough for him, is what I'm saying.
As they try and walk off after they hand it to him, he goes, wait. And then he takes a bite just to make sure if he needs to kick off that they're still there, they can do it right in their face.
Yeah, probably.
Exactly.
But you know what the funny thing is? Even if Kojima has made a habit of spitting his food back in the faces of waiters and waitresses, that might stand out in Tokyo. One city where it probably won't stand out that much, Los Angeles, because there's probably a lot of that types already embedded in that city, which is appropriate because that, lads, is where Kojima Productions have opened up their brand new studio, their LA studio. But there's a twist.
So yeah, exactly. So Kojima Productions open studio. It's not exactly news, Jamie.
Well, that's because, Chris, the full extended headline, if you sign up to the full extended headline tier for £3.99 a month, you'd have known this, is Kojima Productions' open new LA studio to focus on TV, film, and music, which, I don't know, I guess based on the number of hours of cutscenes we've sat through in his games for the past decade, kind of makes sense that he would reach this point eventually, right?
Yeah, but I think, like, as interesting as this news is, I think we're forgetting one thing. Like, so TV and film, you're kind of like, oh, okay, Kojima, like, fuck it, like, what was it? Like, Metal Gear Solid 4 was like pretty much 95% fucking cutscene. and TV, you're like, okay, yeah, that could be an interesting kind of foray. But music is the one that kind of interests me the most, because I know what it's going to be. It's going to be let me set the scene, okay?
Okay.
Pitch black stage, okay? But you can tell it's like a theater stage, okay? And it's pitch black. It's okay, monochromatic, black and white, okay?
Okay.
A little bit of chrome coming through, just for that little bit of a finesse, okay? And there's a chair in the middle of the kind of stage there, all right? And very slowly, very subtly, a little bit of piano starts playing. Just a little tinkles here and there, like, and then very slowly it starts raining on the stage. And then suddenly Hideo Kojima in a leotard comes running through the stage, leaping in the air, doing a front somersault, landing on the chair, and then head down, and then all of a sudden he goes, You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
At this point, I'd just like to declare that I'm out.
No,
I'm out. I'm sorry.
I
will not be investing in the subject.
I have two notes.
I'm all in.
I have two
I'm
notes.
both shaved testicles in is what I am.
I have two notes, if I can. And,
yes.
If you say yes to both, I will be in.
Okay.
One, can we get Lin-Manuel Miranda to direct? And two, can Hideo Kojima be black?
Yes to one of those, but I'm not going to tell you which one.
Okay. I just want him to rap about his time at Konami. My name is Kojima, and I'm here to say I left Konami in an awful way. That's what Hamilton's like, right? I haven't seen it, but I presume it's kind of like that. But it
does sound like that.
It's about constitutions and
you've pretty much nailed it. And you know what else is at the end of the whole show? Shia LaBeouf has been sitting in the back row, and then he just stands up, he starts clapping.
Damn.
And then actually, it was a sequel to the Shia LaBeouf song. So there you go.
Shia LaBeouf.
I'm down for that. Jonesy, can I pick your brain though for a second? Because you and me, look, as a trio, we've shared a lot of experiences.
Can I just say, Jonesy is so fucking low energy today. I love it. I love low energy, Jonesy.
Is everything all right?
I'm not low energy at all. What are you talking about? I tell you what, as soon as we start talking about games, I'll be high energy, but we're pretty far off at this point.
Wait,
we're talking about
a
leotarded Hideo Kojima.
Are you mad? This is not a gaming podcast, mate.
No, I know.
You've been lied to. I'm sorry.
I've been lied to.
You've been bamboozled, buddy.
What I was going to say, though, is that, look, the three of us over the years have had a lot of shared experiences. We've accrued a lot of PTSD. But, Jonesy, there's one thing that you and I share, which is that we've both played probably too much, and I'd say at some point almost any amount is too much, of a little game called Death Stranding. So what I want to know from you,
dare you, sir?
is when you hear someone describe that the goal of Kojima Productions' new LA studio being to transfer, quote, the characters and properties of his games to other mediums, how does that sit with you?
Oh, it's absolutely terrifying. I think you take okay. If you said to me, you can take Hideo Kojima's games, right? A lot of cutscenes, a lot of talking, a lot of exposition, a lot of gradually teased out narratives and stories, but riddled usually with some awesome gameplay, some great settings, some interesting characters that you get to play with, and battles and fights and whatever. Now you say remove all the gameplay and just give me the narrative and the chatting and the cutscenes. I'm like, no thanks. Do you know what it's going to be? The first film that they announce that they're going to be making, if they say we're going to make a film, it'll end up being, it's not one film anymore, it's 3, and each one is 5 hours long. And I'm like, perfect. No.
Jonesy, as someone who has watched an 11-hour YouTube cut of all the cutscenes of Death Stranding at 2 times speed, so it only really took me 5.5 hours. That's called economy of scale. I'll tell you that it's not such a bad prospect. In fact, if anything, it could be quite enjoyable. But the big elephant in the room here, fellas, is Kojima Productions only has one fucking game, and it's Death Stranding.
Right, yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Unless what he's doing is he's penned a deal with Remedy, and he's going to make Quantum Break 2 and create a TV show alongside the game.
Parallel.
Which is not a thing that's going to happen, and it's a very bad kind of...
Just get the Frost guy from X-Men back, and those two dudes who were both in The Wire, and jobs are good.
There you go. Get a cameo with Kojima. That'll be the difference. Boom. There you go.
Yeah. I do think, though, that I kind of get where Chris is coming from in that, you know how to some people, a car crash is just a car crash, and yet other people like to look at car crashes and whack off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that movie.
Yeah, I've seen that movie Drive. Yeah.
Drive, is it Drive? No, it's Crash.
No, Crash. Yeah.
Crash. The good Crash. The Cronenberg Crash. Not
both crashes were good, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I think I spent a lot of time on r/movies, Chris, and I hate to inform you that Reddit has moved on. Okay, it's up there with Green Book when it comes to out of touch Best Picture winners. I'm sorry. No, but I actually walked
out of the cinema when I was watching Crash.
Did you? Why?
Yeah, not the Soderbergh one, the other one. Because it was it was so shaky, the handheld cameras, and I was sat right in the front, and I was just like, I just can't. I
motion sickness.
Yeah, no, I think I was 14 at the time. No, it wasn't even motion sickness. I was like, I've just got better time to do with my hormone enraged.
I'm too cheap to walk out of a film. I always find that really weird when.
Well, you know what I did, Jonesy?
I'm too cheap.
I left with my friend Chris Mavro, and we went to McDonald's and we picked up some ladies. As 14-year-olds in the mall, so it's quality.
Hello,
so that's why I remember it, purely for that reason. So
decent, mate.
To be fair, if ever there were a reason to walk out of a movie, it would be picking up chicks in the mall. That's it's pretty hard. That's pretty hardcore, Chris.
It was pretty fucking radical.
It was pretty radical. And you know what? Again, like that movie, there was a distinct lack of people whacking off over car crashes. And what I was gonna say is that the idea of a Hideo Kojima movie or a TV show, i.e. none of the good gameplay to break up his absolute nonsense writing, is the kind of car crash that I'd like to whack off to. So, like, I acknowledge that it's a disaster, but I'm still going to come. If that makes sense.
Okay, I know I've just said the opposite to this, but I'm going to argue with myself, which is probably not that surprising for some people.
A super show first?
I'm going to say that there is a possibility, though, that especially with film, less so of TV, he could be forced to streamline and smooth out the sort of extra long exposition and all the complicated stories and really try and nail it in a few hours, in which case you could end up with something which is actually really good, because a lot of his stories and stuff are very good, and a lot of the things he tries to say and a lot of the way he tries to put across the narrative, they just, for me, are so drawn out in the games over so many cutscenes that you end up getting I get fatigued by Kojima cutscenes. I end up losing interest in what's going on beyond the game, beyond the gameplay side of it. So maybe that's a good thing.
It's either one or the other, right? Like if they go for the film aspect, then you've got a constraint of say 90 minutes to, I don't know, 3 hours. That's a reasonable amount of time that an audience would be willing to give you, even if you're fucking Kojima, because that's just how movies roll, right? But on the other side, it probably would make more sense to go TV and have a drawn out kind of
that's going to be painful, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
a Kojima TV show. You're on season 10.
You say that, but I think it'll be fine. If you take let's say, these days you don't have full seasons as we used to know them, as 24 episodes, etc. But you'll get anywhere between 8 and 12 episodes of 1 hour long things, and that's that's entering Kojima cutscene territory. So.
But it's the point that Josie just made quite successfully in the end that actually scares me about the TV show idea, which is that, there does seem something quite definitive about the running time of a movie that is a little bit more loosey-goosey when it comes to TV shows. And the idea of Metal Gear, for example, where we had codec conversations, which is two boxes talking to each other for what could feel like hours. I don't know. I don't want to risk it. Although you just did give me another idea, Chris, when you were talking about how back in the good old days, a season of a show could be 24 episodes.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, that reminded me of the show 24. So how about this? What if, instead of getting his own movie or his own TV show or working from his own IP, Hideo Kojima got hired as a director of a pre-existing show where he was allowed to do script tweaks but not wholesale changes, and then allowed to impart his own visual style on a 24 style show but except swap it out for one that's actually running. Or they just he's worked with Kiefer before. Bring back Jack Bauer. Bring back 24. Hideo Kojima's 24.
I would be cool, man.
I wouldn't be averse to that, yeah. But you know what that kind of reminds me of is when they take x-rays of Picasso's and they realize that underneath all of the abstract,
he painted something before, right?
Yeah, he had painted a classical fucking painting of a bull getting fucking impaled or something, and then after he painted that very good classical style painting, he fucking went all, I don't know, what's Picasso, impressionist all over it, or abstract, whatever it fucking is, and it's just that
he spooged all over it.
He splooged all over it, and that's kind of Kojima's going to do a Jackson Pollock all over a TV show. Just
do you want to tell you what's funny to me is you guys referencing old school series were 24 episodes, because they weren't. The UK thing was back in the day when I was a kid, they were always 6 episodes. like
Yeah,
series
yeah,
of
no,
6
well, I mean,
episodes
we're
long.
talking
And then the
Hollywood, yeah.
American influence was was like 24 episodes or like loads. And then I really got into that when I was a little bit older. But then I'm now so grateful that some shows have gone back to like the old school, like 1 hour long 6 episode thing. That's so, it keeps everything contained.
Yeah.
Every episode is important. Whereas the kind of the more American 24 episodes thing, they just end up getting fluffy. Like
filler.
they can be just rammed with filler, and you end up thinking, and that's what I don't want from Kojima. I do not want 20 episodes of filler so that he can occasionally put out something like that's really interesting.
You know, it's
really
going to be fucking 24 episodes of filler.
I don't want that though,
and it's only going to be 24 episodes of filler. That's all it's going to be.
I got bored with Dark. Like I can't take
Dark was quality.
Kojima doing that for like 10 seasons.
Yeah, but he does have a flair for the visual. But I think what this is, if I'm putting my serious hat on instead of my goofy dickhead hat, is I think it's more going to be like a consultancy firm for TV, film, and music rather than straight up him doing his own shit. At least initially, I would imagine.
Like a studio,
but we just don't know, right? Like we just don't know.
No, we don't.
It would just, I'd imagine it's more of the music side as well. I'd imagine what is more of a publishing label for bands and groups that he likes that are small and that he.
That's a good point. Yeah,
they're just going to distribute every Low Raw album for the next decade, and that's it. But no, I think you
can I one more thing I know that I won't like about the first series that the Kojima Productions produce is that it will feature Norman Reedus, who I'm not a big fan of.
Oh, he's just going to do the next season of Ride with Norman Reedus.
Yeah, that's it. It's just Ride.
Oh dear.
I don't need any more Norman Reedus.
Hideo Kojima's The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
Any takers?
No thanks.
No
thanks.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll see. One thing that is slightly depressing about this is that it reminded me that Jordan Vogt Roberts, is that how we decided to say his surname? His Metal Gear Solid film starring Oscar Isaac is still treading water, presumably, and as of next month, it will be an entire year since Oscar Isaac confirmed that he had signed on to play Solid Snake. At least I presume it was Solid Snake. A snake, let's say. Or all the snakes, technically. And that guy's not getting any younger, so...
Hey, I just wrote a script where I made a joke about all the different snakes, but there we go.
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, Jonesy and I think we know what that is.
You should do, yeah.
We do that.
You know, the listeners will get a sneak peek soon enough, I'd imagine.
Yeah, all the more reason to stay subscribed to the Super Show YouTube channel and maybe even consider joining up to our Patreon, which you can do by heading over to patreon.com/Super Show. You can pledge from as little as $2 a month, and we have all kinds of super juicy tiers with additional content for you to enjoy. Like I said, you can join our Discord. We have Patreon exclusive content. We have all kinds of stuff over there, and I can promise you we'll be continuing to populate the Patreon exclusive content tier of our Patreon as we move towards the Christmas period, because we all know what it's like. You go home, you're with the family, you get a bit bored, you need your favourite voices, those familiar voices in your ear to get you through those desperate times. And some of the people who may well be relying on us for that this fall are the people who have already pledged, and we want to say thank you very much to them and give them a special shout out. So Aim Nestus, Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Backstory for Anal Beads, does anyone know the story? I certainly don't. Jesper Cam Dahl Nielsen, Jovella Cujo, Leo Merger, Magic Ritz, Mindful Pig, Mr. Anthropic. Have I said that word right? Anthropic. Yeah. Nathan
Anthropic, yeah.
Part of the 0.24%, if you know, you know, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid, and the head honchos Brett Z, Doppler, Geometric Potter, Hacksaw Bookread, Manuel, Caribbean Pappy Guerrero, and Peaswad. Thank you all so much for your continued love and support. You are the reason we've been able to keep the lights on this long.
Can I give you an idea of what it would be like without these dudes?
Yes, you can give me an idea. Oh, see that, my friends, right there.
Smart.
Is visual storytelling. Not super smart in an age where more people listen to this podcast than watch it, but hey, you know what?
I just switched off my lights.
Yeah. You know where to find us. Type in Super Show on YouTube. We'll probably be the top result. If we're not, then fuck the SEO. I don't understand it.
I think we are actually. If you just type in Super Show, let me double check.
It's hard because whenever I type it in, we are, but then I don't know if that's because I've search
Right,
it before,
exactly.
and that it.
Does
I
YouTube
think
secretly
with like
know?
YouTube, it's a numbers game, right? Like we've got 99 episodes, and a bitch ain't one of them. So it's gonna be there. You type in Super Show, all one word, and the channel comes up first, and a bunch of our 2 episodes of our podcast, and then Super Show, the last great jam of the 60s, which is just a 60s.
Isn't there some wrestling stuff as well that comes up if you type in Super Show?
Yeah,
there's
there was
okay.
also-
The Opie and Anthony Super Show. That's interesting.
Do you guys remember that when we went down the hole deep enough once we found out that there was an onlyfans.com/Super Show, and it was just some nude.
Oh yeah, we did. Yep.
I don't recommend anyone look at that link.
Also, do you remember when we, back in ATG days, when we started the ATG Super Show podcast, and we looked up ATG podcasts, like just in search, and we came across one that was relatively popular, and it was the Against the Grain podcast about like fucking woodworking.
Woodworking, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Against the Grain.
Hell yeah.
Do you know one person who presumably at some point in their life might have typed the word Super Show into the YouTube search bar and clicked on something they found beneath?
Hideo Kojima.
As well as Hideo Kojima, it's our winner of this week's comment of the week. I say winner, it's not really a contest, but it is kind of a contest if you want it to be. Just imagine it in your head, and it will be. And that is just a guy who says, Jonesy, why? Let there be carnage? It's about a wedding. So terrible. What a waste of carnage. I'm just messing with you. I thought it sucked, but I love some bad movies too. I love how Jamie keeps spoiling the post-credit scenes for himself. I've done that as well lately with Eternals. Jonesy, hot takes? You're being slagged off for enjoying Let There Be Carnage.
No, like I just a guy I think's nailed it. Like you have to like some bad films. I think bad films are like if every film you ever watch was like a great critically acclaimed film, it would be boring. No, yeah, sometimes it's just good to watch like a film you can stuff popcorn into your face and enjoy some.
So you're saying without the
idiocy.
sour, you can't enjoy the sweet. Without the rain, you can't enjoy the rainbow.
But I think I even made the point though in the show that the first Venom film was like trying to take itself too seriously, and it was trying to be like isn't this a really cool like Venom film? And I didn't like that. I thought it was like doing it the wrong way, and they should have gone a bit more wacky, and they should have been a bit more over the top, and they should have embraced like the carnage. And then in the sequel, that's what they did. Although I do kind of get his point that they kind of wasted Carnage.
Damn.
I don't know.
I was going to say, now I want to ask a question that I don't mind having spoiled for me, but I understand would be a spoiler for other people.
Oh,
You can
I
probably
don't
guess what
agree.
the question is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's why I stopped doing this when I did. But I don't agree. It's about a wedding. It's like the setup is like he wants to rescue his girlfriend, but the idea that it's about a wedding is like it's misdirection. It's not. It's about Venom. It's about Venom being Venom and Tom Hardy and Venom fighting and being like, and having to go at each other and all that sort of shit. It's a fun time.
So it's about marriage. Okay, I got you.
It's about marriage. It's about marriage. It
Here's
is
a
about
question.
marriage. Yeah.
And this is a genuine question. Chris, I might have to rely on your kind of like your broader comic book knowledge for this one. We'd said last week how, and it's not a spoiler to say so because it's been shown in the trailers, there are now legit links between the Sony movies like Venom and Morbius and the MCU films that Disney are producing.
Yeah.
Which means that when Tom Holland, Spider-Man, as we saw in the trailer, is fighting against characters like the Sandman, wasn't the Sandman in the same film as Topher Grace's Eddie Brock, despite the fact that we're now establishing that Tom Holland exists in the same universe as Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock?
Yeah.
Is there a clash there?
No. There's no establishment. From what I recall from the movie, and it's probably what you're going to say, Jonesy. Sorry, but there's no establishment as to, because it's all multiverses that they're talking about, right?
Well,
so it's we don't know which multiverse.
We know that the Vulture that Tom Holland fought. We know that from the trailer we know that the Vulture Tom Holland fought is in the Morbius film with Jared Leto. He's in the trailer.
Yeah, but it gets
as an
difficult
example.
though. Sorry,
I don't
because in the trailer there's also in the Morbius trailer there's like graffiti on the wall of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Really? Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's to be honest, I think it's just Sony just being Sony.
Yeah,
I will say as well,
just being like, we'll do whatever the fuck we want.
It's pretty safe to say at this point that the Tom Hardy Venom is not the Venom from Tom Holland's universe.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. it's going to be
for reasons unknown.
Yeah, for reasons unknown. But it's pretty certain that that's the case.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm kind of looking forward to when these studios start inevitably stepping on each other's toes, and we just have so many overlapping storylines and plot threads and universes.
I think this is such a clusterfuck. I think it's a terrible, terrible idea. Like, it's so. I get it. It's fan service. It's like it's rose tinted glasses. It's hindsight. It's looking back and going, oh, look at all the cool elements of all these films that you might have thought sucked at the time, and then taking the cool elements from those films and bringing them back, like, you know, what's his name, Dr. Octavius and stuff. And who's the dude who plays Dr. Octavius? I can't remember his name.
Alfred Molina.
Yeah,
that guy. That, like, little things like that, you want the fans to go, amazing, he's back. Like, that was incredible when he was in Spider-Man 2. But all the trailers and stuff just make me think they're just doing all this stuff to make everyone get excited in the trailers. But then when they bring it together in the film, I think it's going to be a goddamn mess.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I think it'll be fine. But I think the issue that they're going to run into is, like, what's the kind of saying? It's, in a way, it's the Superman effect. It's like, or like Pandora's box, or whatever, however you kind of want to quantify it. But you've taken it to its absolute zenith of where it could go.
Yeah.
And where'd you go after this?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's fan service, and then there's fucking fan service, right?
You know what you do, mate? You upgrade the enemies. If the Matrix has taught us anything, that's all you need is 2 words. Well,
Upgrades.
not even a word.
Upgrades.
And then you can do whatever you want.
True.
Hell yeah.
Although
can we do a super show outing to go see the Matrix Resurrections?
Oh, that'd be wicked.
I think we should actually, and then we can.
It'd be so quality.
We can record maybe I'm reaching now, but like a bit of Patreon content just around, like, we could just talk about the Matrix for 2 hours.
Yeah,
that's
Matrix
all I really
spoiler
want to do.
cast.
Yeah.
What I haven't seen that I really want to see is Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah,
the new one.
Yeah, the new one.
I've been hearing some good things.
Yeah, the reviews were like solid, and fair play to them. I keep watching the trailers, expecting them to just do the thing in the trailer, and credit where it's due, they haven't done the thing in the trailer. They're saving it for the movie, so, you know, good for them. Again, I apologize. The spoilers are such a grey area in 2021 where, like, so many things are public before. Like, I presume that's. And you know what? Never mind. We'll leave it.
Yeah, never mind. It's fine. Carry on.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what, Chris? It's a topic that certainly amongst fans of comic books and movies and TV shows, it causes a bit of friction. But do you know what can help you ease that friction?
Oh, tell me, buddy.
Well, something that might help are the sponsors of this episode of the Super Show. Of course, I'm talking about Manscaped, because support for the Super Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, champions of the below-the-waist grooming scene, some might say.
Ooh,
that's
nice,
right, Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and they've just launched their 4th generation trimmer. That's right, 1, 2, 3, 4th generation, the Lawnmower 4.0. If we were talking about PlayStations, this would be the equivalent of the PlayStation 4. It's actually quite a simple. They both have the number 4 in the name.
That's good math right there.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done it for like another console, like the Nintendo, but then they change the names too often. Like, keep it simple, like Manscaped does.
Idiots. It's like iPhone.
Exactly. Yeah. At some point,
keep it straightforward.
Like I liked how even the 3rd iPhone was the 3G, which has the number 3 in it. It was genius.
Actually, that was the 2nd iPhone.
Well, whatever. In that case, Apple, Steve Jobs, you're dumber than Manscaped, because the 4th generation trimmer is called the Lawnmower 4.0, and you can join the over 4 million men worldwide who have trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer. That's right, we're giving you the chance to get 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping if you use the code SuperShow at manscaped.com when you place your order. That code, once again, is SuperShow. And I can tell the good folks at home that we would never promote a product or a company, nonetheless, if we hadn't had the opportunity to test things out ourselves, to take the Lawnmower 4.0 for a test run. And that's exactly, it's almost TMI, but let's just be honest, that's what we've been doing the last week, lads. We've been shaving our balls.
So is this confirmed the first time that we know of where all 3 of us are sat here in front of our webcams, in front of our microphones, staring at you soulfully in the eyes and saying, we've all got our balls shaved?
I'll be honest,
I mean, the time that's been proven, I would imagine, that we've talked about. It's not a topic that we usually bring up, just chatting to each other.
I think you'd be surprised if you go back in the catalogue, there might be some kind of things. But yeah, there you go.
It's on. You know what?
Jamie was just looking at his balls just now.
No, I was actually admiring the trimmer itself because I've got the trimmer with me. I wanted to show how sleek and well designed the Lawnmower 4.0
you see, mine is still in the bag. Oh, look at that.
Do you know what I got the whole box that they sent us, this whole little gift box, which is pretty nice of them.
This is the equivalent of, that's not a knife, this is a knife.
And actually, that one-upsmanship wasn't staged. We all, for whatever reason, have our shaving accoutrement remarkably close to our webcams. I don't know about you guys, but I presume with Jonesy's case, that's because he did his shaving whilst on chat roulette. Jonesy, confirm or deny?
I did. I just wanted to see how long people would stick around.
If
on chat roulette, if I was there like mid trim,
a
surprisingly long time. People would stick around.
I did mine. Well, you got a lot of matted hair that you need to get.
Look, I'm going to go this. I've gone blue.
Oh, he's got blue. He's got blue balls. Everybody. I did mine in the pre-show of this episode actually, and Jamie and Jonesy they helped me out. I stood up, scrote to camera, separated my testes left and right, and Jamie on the left, Jonesy on the right, and they helped me through the contours of it.
So up, down, left a bit, you missed a bit.
It was almost like a rally driver. You know how the navigator on the rally driver, they're like, caution, caution, sharp left.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Thanks, buddy. I got it. And you know what? No cuts, no nicks. Amazing.
No cuts, because I feel like, Jonesy, again, I don't want to put you on the spot. I feel like you're becoming my punching bag this episode for talking about ball-related mishaps. But the last thing anyone wants to do while shaving their private parts is cutting them up like you did yours.
Do you know what? I have nicked it before, and it was not fun. I did nick the sack one time, and do you know what? It bleeds. It really does. So we got these surprisingly like not small, but like a good size. Like it's not like a big chunky mother, which is quite nice. I got a bit carried away with mine. I'm not gonna lie, because at first
you did like your gooch in your asshole as well. Is that where are we going with this?
I went even further than that.
Did you have those moments? This is where Jonesy's wife walks in and Jonesy's hooked his legs up over his head and he's like sat in front of a mirror, just like staring down the barrel of his arsehole.
Well, okay, because I didn't know what to expect, because I don't have, obviously, a Manscaped before they sent them to us. I do have like a general trimmer, you know, I'm not an absolute heathen. So you get this, and then it comes with the guards and stuff. I was like, okay, let me chuck on a guard and let me have a little like mess around. And I did the area you're going to expect, right? The balls had to get trimmed. That was going to happen. But then what bugs me about that whole idea is then everything else is hairy, right? And then you look like almost like a weird, like you've got a weird gap in the middle, which is like trimmed more than everything else. So I just said, like, let's just go for it. So I did the chest, I did the stomach.
I
did
Wait,
I did a bit of everything.
Balls?
I think I did do it after the balls. I used a different guard. I'm not absolute grimo. Okay. And you can also put this under the water and you can give it a wash and stuff. So that's all good. But no, so I did a bit of everything, and that was better than because the balls, we've all done the balls before. Let's not pretend we've all had a trim down there. But I've never done the rest of it before, and it's an all over like trimmer. It's not just a do your balls trimmer. So I just sort of trimmed everything down a bit, which I'm very happy with the results. I'm not going to lie.
Can I ask you guys a question? Right, like as you're doing the area, but now obviously, I mean, depending on how your genetics go, let's say. Okay, and I'm not talking about size. I'm just talking about like spread of the follicle. Okay, there's a part where it goes like from the area that you're dealing with to like your leg hair.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When do you stop?
What do you do? Do you just do like shorts, like just like cut it like
no, you
straight
do a
up,
fade.
or do you kind of like fade it in? Do you do a fade?
I think you fade. I think Jamie's right.
Yeah,
you do the fade, because that is a weird thing.
See, I did like zigzag patterns because I'm thinking like World War II Navy like battleships, and when they wanted to like confuse people with the size of things, they just did that like fucking zebra zigzag shit. So I figured that would be a good strategy. That's Chris's top tip, not Manscaped's top tip. Disclaimer there, Chris's top tip.
So you can confuse people when they look, they don't know where it is.
Also, they're just unsure of the size of it. Is it big? Is it maybe You know, what am I looking at? Is it girth? Like, I don't know.
Or isn't that also used for like camouflage? So effectively, it might disappear altogether.
Hey, listen, if you wanted a camouflage, then you're talking about like fucking Ho Chi Minh and Vietnam, and you're talking about jungle. But what we're doing here is we're getting rid of the jungle. But there's no hiding.
We're getting rid of the jungle.
I'm just trying to dazzle.
And I'm sorry, Jonesy, you go on.
I was trying to get this out of a little box.
We're still going. Okay, yeah. Keep it coming,
Because
baby.
I also
Jonesy's
I'm
doing
terrible.
the unboxing.
If I get something,
Jonesy thinks we're on the shopping channel now.
If I get, I'm being honest. If I get something right, I have to use everything. I have to experiment with everything.
Yeah.
And it also, this pack that we got sent also comes with
the toner,
crop reviver, refreshing ball toner, and it also comes with crop preserver ball deodorant.
Can I say?
So
I'm not joking, and this is not a shill.
Well.
This ball deodorant smells fucking nice, and I might just start using it on my face.
Okay.
If there's someone who knows what that's the ball deodorant, it's going to suddenly be like, how close is your face?
Well, it's like a moisturizer, right? Like,
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, I think my general rule of thumb with all of these things would be use them on your balls and where possible, like keep them to your balls. Again, like it's 2021. No one. The bare minimum is that no one should be using the same razor on their balls and on their face. I'm amazed we have to say that, but I think there are some people out there that have to hear that. And if you're one of those people that had to hear that, then I strongly suggest you check out Manscaped. Again, the new Lawnmower 4.0. It has advanced skin-safe technology. You're even less likely than ever to get any nicks or cuts. It's also got a travel lock. If anyone's worried about their new Lawnmower 4.0 starting vibrating when it's in a suitcase and you're in an airport and someone thinks you've got a vibrator. That old chestnut,
good point.
Not going to happen. It's got an LED spotlight if you ever want to shave your balls in the dark.
There you go.
It's got like
I was going to say.
Yep, great.
Yep,
Everyone's got the props out. We don't. Oh, come on. Hang on. I'm wrapping this thing up.
That little light, I love that because I bought a Hoover that had headlights and I was like, who the hell needs that? And it actually works a treat because it lights everything up and you can see what you've missed. And it's the same with this little guy.
Helps
it's not like a spotlight. It like shows you that you've missed some shit. So it's good.
Jonesy, it's like Architrave in your balls.
It is like that.
Oh, that explains why Jonesy enjoys it so much. Also, there's more. Great.
Little stand, USB charger.
Yeah, funnily enough, that was one of the things I was just about to talk about.
Sorry, mate.
Wireless charging, in fact, it uses electromagnetic induction, for anyone wondering. But to get to the point you've all been waiting for, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code SuperShow at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com if you use the code, SuperShow to unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. A big thank you to Manscaped for supporting the Super Show. We talk about with the Patreon that's how we keep the lights on. It's things like this that genuinely do enable us to keep making new content, keep bringing you new episodes every week, and keep the whole thing afloat. So thank you to Manscaped, and of course a huge thank you as well to anyone that does consider going over, checking out Manscaped, everything they have to offer, and using the code SuperShow at checkout to get that discount and that free shipping around the world. That's right, wherever you live, this option is open to you.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Manscaped. Can I just say, what a great fucking sponsor for the Super Show. I mean, not many sponsors would probably come this way. But
I mean, it's been 2 years, right? Like it's been 2 years.
Well,
they must have watched us, and they must have known how often you talk about balls and cock. They were like, perfect.
They were like, we got to get the dick man as a spokesperson. Yeah. Like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. And do you know what the other nice thing about using the Lawnmower 4.0 is? It's like it's one constant advert, but this is actually a segue, I promise. Is that now that Jonesy's using it to shave his balls, there is no new blood in his bathroom, but there might, from what I've heard, be some new blood in his television set.
Oh, that is absolutely right, Jamie, because this week I delved... I would have done it earlier.
I just got it. Sorry.
Yep.
I delved into the new series of Dexter, New Blood, which I think has only got 2 episodes that have come out so far in the UK. They haven't released the whole series at once. They're releasing an episode a week, which is I love, but I also hate because when you want to binge something, you just want another episode. But it's nice that it sort of drags it out. I don't know how I feel about it at this point. I loved Dexter in the early days. The first couple of seasons were fantastic.
Yeah.
It kind of went off the boil, and then it kind of found its feet again toward the end, and it had quite a good finale to the whole thing. I think it was like 8 seasons.
It had a good. You thought it had a good finale where it goes off into the fucking hurricane.
One of the most universally hated endings to a show of all time, James.
No, like the finale, not the final episode. I mean, like the finale as in the last sort of like season or 2 seasons. I thought were better than like the where it went really weird in the middle.
So they brought it back around.
The finale, the final episode was, and like the what happened in the last few episodes are. Do they like the best
acknowledge that at all in this?
Yeah, for sure they do. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
They start with all of that. They cover all of that stuff off. In the first episode, they basically say that Hannah, the killer that he let his baby son go off with, psycho. Well, he's a psycho, I suppose. She's dead, and his son comes and finds him.
Convenient,
which is the setup for the first 2 episodes. But yeah, long story short, it quickly gets back into Dexter fare that you'd imagine. So he gets back into killing people and stuff, which he wasn't going to do, and he hasn't done for like 10 years or whatever. But it's just very. It kind of takes the subtlety of the original Dexter series in the early days, does away with it immediately, and even like the title sequence and everything is really in your face and is quite jarring, and everything's a bit more full on. Even down to, I don't know if you guys watched it, but back in the day, he used to have Harry, which was his adopted father, used to sort of be occasionally would be there to like talk to him and would be like the voice of reason. In this, they've got Deb, who he killed because she was like a vegetable, whatever. But she is like totally full on and like swearing at him and like just being brutal, and it's like they've ramped it up to 11 even before the series has really started, and I don't know where that's going to go.
There's only one thing that I care about that I want to know. Is Dexter's sister still in the show?
That's Deb, yeah, she is. So she's the new Harry. So she pops up as the ghost or like the vision of his sister. But she's like so full on and like swearing at him and cussing him out and calling him a moron, and it's just a lot. The whole show is ramped up.
Those things must have been interesting to film, because didn't they get married in real life and then they got divorced?
They did. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So imagine filming scenes like that with your ex-wife.
Hey,
she's got some real anger coming out.
Yeah, nice and easy. Not.
But I'm hoping that it comes good. Like, I think it will. Its first couple of only first 2 episodes have come out so far in the UK. I don't know if it's different in the US, but I'll stick with it. I was a fan of Dexter back in the day, so yeah, I would definitely stick with it. But then the only other things I've been doing this week are playing some sporty games, because I've been binging a bit of Forza Horizon 5 as well.
Wow.
Which is actually very good. Like, surprisingly so from what I thought it would be. And I have to, my opinion has definitely been changed from the early stuff I saw of the game as well. I thought it was like a bit over the top with like how much was going on in the map and how many types of things were going on. And, it was trying to lead you down a million different paths. And as we were saying the other day, like they release loads of cars and it's kind of overwhelming. But once you kind of get a handle on that and you can like filter the map and you can concentrate on daily tasks or weekly tasks, different car types, etc. Actually, it works surprisingly well. And while some of the menu things are a bit over the top and the story paths are a bit over the top, I've been really enjoying it. And the driving is solid, so you can't really knock that, right? Which is what the game's supposed to be about.
I agree.
I'm going to rattle through these quickly because I don't need to take a long time. And then Riders Republic, I've got back into as well, which took me a while, but they had a cheeky sale on the other day that Jamie happened to point my way. They had Riders Republic on sale for Black Friday or whatever it was. So
yeah, which
picked up that.
Considering it came out like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, not bad from a consumer perspective. Maybe
what does that actually mean for the health of the game? Like, were they just not getting people to buy it?
I think they launched at a rough time. Like, I don't think there were many people who were playing Riders Republic over Forza when they launched at basically identical times.
Yeah,
even if they are different games, the more you play them.
No, but they're but they're like we've said before, they're weirdly similar in a lot of ways. They're both open world games where you can jump, you can hop in and out of, vehicles in one sense and sports in the other. But they are weirdly similar. Like even the landscapes and the way that you can just have fun just going around those worlds and finding hidden things and riding different paths and things. They kind of feel similar, which is weird.
Yeah.
But both very good games. Riders Republic, I think, Jamie and I were talking about this, I think it was the end of last week, and that it had a strange thing that the beta seemed quite big, and I heard a lot of talk about it and a lot of good things about it at the time. And then the game came out and no one really mentioned it, and it just kind of disappeared. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are maybe struggling a bit of sales, and they're trying to bump up the number of people that are playing that, the install base, because it's an absolutely solid game. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying my time with it again, getting back into it. There's some notable tweaks I think they've made from the beta, which I need to play more of before I sort of. I'm sure that they've done things I think they've done, but I don't think they're bad things. There's different control styles for tricks and things compared to what there was in the beta. There was one control style, now there's two. Some of the controls, it feels easier to control things as well. Like the way the bikes control and things like that, they feel a bit more responsive, which they didn't. But like I said, it might just be me, so I'm not sure. But then only one other thing to mention this week was I had my first mini viral tweet. And do you know why that was? It was because I had the most random thought in the world. I genuinely, this is true. I was driving to the gym and I was thinking, like, as you do, your brain wanders. And I was just thinking about Men in Black, the movie, and how good the bug was.
Yeah,
in
as
that
you do.
movie.
And you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I quote the bug all the time in my life. It's really weird. Like, I can't help it because the performance by Vincent D'Onofrio was so epic that I just randomly quote shit from that movie that he said, like the water thing. If someone says like, "Do you want some water?" Like, you can't help but think of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I tweeted that out. I think I tweeted something like, "It might be nearly 25 years, but it's one of the most it's one of the best performances of a character that I for me to this day." And he replied and said, "Mine too. Thanks, Jonesy," which was wicked. I was happy for that.
It's crazy.
So yeah, surprisingly so. But yeah,
I'm glad that it happened for you, Jonesy. But what I love about this is you've stumbled onto social media in the way that like social media like is there for people to kind of like interact with and engage with, and basically you've done a tweet's worth of a social media manager's job. So
no, but I've been on. How long have I been on Twitter? I've been on Twitter now for like, Jesus Christ, it's got to be like.
I need to double check now, Jonesy. Now that we're talking about it,
It's got to be 7 or 8 years or something like that.
Wow.
You have started selling lava lamps in responses to your own tweet, right? Just making sure you take advantage of.
Like butt plugs. And
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know that. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm
confused. But like, you know what, Jonesy, I'll say fair play to you because you often like tweet the random thoughts that jump up in your head, and if there's a reason for Twitter, why not that? But I gotta hand it to you. You always tag people like big stars. You do those moonshots in your tweets, and they, for the most part, they pay off.
I don't even mean for them to reply. That's what's weird.
No, I know.
Well, because Rosaria Dawson did. She replied to something that I put, and then I think when I tweeted something about really enjoying Ghost of Tsushima director's cut, I think the game director liked the tweet, and then Jamie even remember checked at the time and was like, he wasn't just liking every tweet people put, that he hadn't liked something in like 24 hours. So I was like, it's pretty random.
Yeah, but, like fair play to you. Like you.
Do you know, I like putting positivity out there into the world on social media because it is often full of negativity. So if some people can do a little smile, then that's all good.
I feel I've got to be the foil now, Jamie. I've got to like tweet Vincent and say, "Hey, Vincent, go fuck yourself." It's almost like that Joker Dark Knight mentality where there always needs to be a foil to everything.
You're the man who wants to watch the world, man.
Maybe.
To be fair, I think we might have already done enough damage to Vincent D'Onofrio specifically because when he replied to Jonesy's tweet saying that it was also one of his favourite and most memorable performances, ASB64, a longtime fan of the Super Show and Ultimate Game before it, replied to Vincent saying, like Jonesy with the social media clout, turns out that ASB's profile picture on Twitter is still me on the toilet. So I like to think that there is some kind of strange like series of events wherein Vincent D'Onofrio has seen me sat on a toilet.
I'd love it if like we find out in his next role he like uses that imagery because it got burnt into his head.
Just a fat guy in a Metallica t-shirt sat on a toilet with his trousers down with a mosaic around his balls.
I like it. It's nice.
Nice one, Jonesy. Well, thank you.
That's it for me. That's it for my week.
Chris,
solid.
How about you then? I feel like I don't know. I've got a feeling in my bones that something monumentous might have happened.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I liked a very famous tweet by none other than the famous Alex Jones. No, well, yeah. So I've been streaming, fellas, as you know, multiple months now on the trot, as they say. And I've been streaming Dark Souls. And this past week, I have finished Dark Souls in a fucking monumental turn of events. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They said it couldn't be done because they said I'm suck
surprised,
at games.
Man. I said it. I'm very surprised because I think I said that you won't be able to finish Dark Souls and Sekiro by the time Elden Ring comes out, and you are definitely on track to be able to perform that.
Well, hold your horses because I think Sekiro is a whole different fucking
I
bag
think you
of
got
chips.
it. I'm still backing you.
Thank you. But yeah, it was pretty cool. So a bit of a strange story. So I wanted to stream last week. It didn't happen, and I managed to stream on Sunday night. So I started streaming, and mid-stream, my son wakes up and just fucking wouldn't go back to sleep. And he didn't, because he came and saw my streaming setup, and obviously that got his cogs turning. He's like, no, I need my daddy with me the whole time. So I had to kind of like, abort the stream, which is a bit unfortunate. But I did manage to pick up the very next day, and yeah, like I don't know, Gwyn. It took me a fair few tries, but at no time did I ever think. So Gwyn is the final boss of Dark Souls. At no time did I feel that like he was a hard or difficult boss. Like
would you say that he was a hollowback girl?
Yeah, he was a hollowback girl.
Oh, okay,
yeah, he was
just
a hollowback girl, and I met him behind the bleachers.
Nice.
No, like I like you go up against someone like Ornstein and Smo, or God, who else? Anyway, some of those, and it's like there's a real sense of like I'm getting properly fucked up here, and I don't know how to kind of proceed, and I just got to really, really kind of persevere with this. But then with Gwyn, it was just like every time he killed me, it was not because I didn't necessarily know what was happening. It was just like I was just a bit slow in the input, or I don't know, maybe it's like fucked up somehow, whatever it was. But like didn't ever feel that like it was an insurmountable task. It was like getting into that boss fight. It was very much like it's just a matter of time, fellas. I'm gonna fucking nail this. And actually, I don't know if any of you I know you guys jumped in and out. Yeah, I don't. You even during the live stream, both of you, I think, jumped in and out at certain points. But that point where I beat him, it was so fucking chill. Like you wouldn't like. A part of me like regrets not being able to stream during the day anymore because I would have been jumping up and down and screaming, but I didn't want to wake up my son. But also the way it happened, it was like I was like leant back. I was like taking it easy. I was feeling very zen about things.
But if I could,
did that take away from it?
Not really. Like I think you could still tell from the VOD like how fucking hyped I was about achieving that goal.
Yeah.
And obviously the viewership was kind of like hyped for me as well. So thank you for everyone that joined in Hot Panic. Twitch.tv/Hot Panic if you want to check out the VOD. I'm actually going to try and download it and put it up on my YouTube as well.
Nice. I think the thing for me was that it wasn't just like your mannerisms or your body language that would chill. It was also just the fact that I think the strat that you chose to approach Gwyn with was so dependent on these sort of like very specific high sensitivity, like time pressure moments within the fight, rather than just you wailing away for a certain amount of time. It was almost like, look, I only need to, I'm not going to use, I don't know if you want to talk about more about your strats, I'm not going to say it for you, but like you only needed to do a certain thing a certain number of times and you knew you had him. It wasn't like you were, constantly like circling and getting smashed up. Like you knew what your strat was.
Yeah. I figured out the strat relatively early. And I think like, so the strat that I went for was kind of a hybrid strat because there's...
Don't spoil it, I haven't seen it. No, I'm joking.
Well, there's the rolling strategy where you just kind of like roll out and you use your iframes during the roll to kind of save yourself from the damage.
Is that the one where Venom is in the post-credit sequence? Or
yes.
Okay, good.
And then the other one is the parry maneuver because Gwyn as a boss, which is not always the case, but he is parryable. But now the thing is that I'm terrible at parrying. Absolutely fucking dog shit awful. My timing, just I never get it. And I don't get it in Sekiro either. But yeah, I just kind of like, I entered into a little state of flow, fellas.
Nice.
And I was fucking going with it, and I was getting like, so because I wasn't so confident in my parrying, I kind of went for a little bit of a hybrid strategy of kind of like rolling, chipping off with a bit of his health, and then parrying where I could. And it just kind of like, in one particular one, I mean, I saved like I was fucking the best player ever. It took like a good, like, I don't know, 20, 25 kind of attempts during that stream. But when it happened, it was kind of seamless, like in a kind of, in a way that kind of surprised me even. Usually with Dark Souls boss, it's like fucking, I'm on the last health. I don't have any Estus Flask charges left to recover, and I just whittle away their health. That's kind of like usually how it went. But with this, it was just like, no, I got this. Boom, boom, boom.
Confidence.
It was cool. It was cool, and I'm so hyped about it. And like, I don't know, like a big part of my life is gone now. Because it sounds stupid, like, but a big part of my year this year was taking my time playing Dark Souls. Like I said before, I only ever played it when I streamed, so it did take a long time. I think my full run time to beat the game was like 42 hours, something like that, which from what I hear is about on par, maybe a little bit longer than expected. But yeah, like I did it. And, you know, next on the horizon is Sekiro. I'm looking forward to that. But I'd like a palate cleanser before I get into that. So maybe, fellas, we can jump in on some Forza Horizon 5 kind of plays, or jump back into Back 4 Blood. You know,
yeah, for sure.
Definitely
be a fun time. But yeah, Jamie, like I'm interested if you said you watched it, like I'm interested to kind of get your take on it all. Well, not all. I mean, fucking hell.
Well, it was interesting because like the vibe I got, and again, I've seen most of your playthrough, you know, either live or through VODs. But it was this kind of interesting point where you got it down to this one boss, this one event. You knew that you were going to have a stream framed around it. And so you knew that there was no sense in rushing in willy-nilly or doing anything half-assed. So there were a lot of, like you say, 20 to 25 attempts. There were a lot of recon attempts. There were a lot of times where it felt like you were going in there just to see, like, let's see what this guy does. Let's see what he's got. Let's see, you know, what I can avoid. Let's see, you know, what
that's
I can
interesting.
Which was an interesting approach. It did, however, leave a sour taste in my mouth, not necessarily on your behalf, but on the game's behalf, because having to run any amount of distance back to a boss like that, when you do it that many times, I'm like, I mean, I get it. It's Dark Souls. They From Software do stuff like that. It's the way things work.
Yeah.
But I was just
Isn't that kind of a necessity though? Like in some, because what you don't want to do is, like you said, if Chris did it like 20, 25 times, and some of those were like recon, like just seeing how it felt. What they don't want to do is have a place you can sort of start the game again from right outside the boss, and you can just spam it again and again and again.
That's what checkpoints are. Like you can have a boss that's very hard to defeat. You don't need like 5 minutes of walking that isn't hard to do before it. What's the value in that?
Yeah.
I almost feel like it makes trying to win on every attempt more important, because you don't want to do the 5 minutes of walking.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jonesy, but also there's another reason for it, and it's something that I picked up when I was playing Sekiro. As like, why is there like, so it's a lot less of a problem in Sekiro, where you'd have your respawn point and then you'd go to the boss, and there'd be like 1 or 2 enemies for you to kill, and it's not a long distance. And I was like, why the fuck have they done this? Like Madam Butterfly kind of comes to mind in terms of this. There's like one dude for you to kill before you go down some stairs into a burning temple, and then you fight her. And I was just kind of like thinking to myself, why have they done this? But the reason that they do it for you is because killing that person gives you some form of resource, which you could potentially use for something.
Yeah,
so,
but like the bonfire could have been right outside the warp door, or whatever it's called, the fog door, and if you needed a resource, you could just turn around and walk the other way.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
I didn't mean to start a conversation harping on the lack of checkpointing in a decade-plus old game. The stream itself was highly enjoyable. Again, seeing you kind of learn Gwyn was a lot of fun, and again, like the commitment to the parry strat, which always struck me as sort of high risk, high reward, was entertaining, because it just meant that the way that you finally did it, I don't want to spoil it for anyone that wants to go and watch it, but like everything just kind of like, you know when you make something look easy by breaking it down in a way that it's not actually meant to be broken down. Like you say, oh, you can win the lottery, just get 7 right numbers, bro. It's fucking like, it's just 7 numbers. Like, just get them. You know, it's kind of like that. So, bro, it's just 7 parries. Just like, just time it right and parry him. Like, just don't die. Just don't die.
Just get good, which is the fucking the Dark Souls maxim, right? But
there was a bit of that,
and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, though, right? Because, like I said, it wasn't one of these like. Maybe I would have enjoyed it if it was a fight to the death and it was like we were both on the last slivers. But there was something that was like supremely badass about feeling like I just fucking rolled in there, I did everything I need to do, and I fucking destroyed him. Like that was nice.
Yes, after 2.5 hours of streaming.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. On the 25th attempt. Yeah,
but no, it was cool. And again, like shout out to the community that were there with me. Like I really fucking appreciate it. And it was nice to celebrate with you. And I'm looking forward to tackling Sekiro and Ishin the Sword Saint and the Demon of Hatred. So if you're interested in those things, then maybe you want to check out twitch.tv/Hot Panic.
Very nice. Yes,
but yeah,
I recommend.
basically I did that and I got so hyped, and then I've just kind of been, and then I jumped into work, and then I got sick, so I haven't played any other games.
Oh right, yes, you have just recovered in time for recording for anyone that.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you, Chris. And you know what?
Oh.
I wish you many happy returns and many happy gaming moments in the weeks to come. Now that you've
Jamie,
got this beast
does
of
it
burden
give
off
you
your back.
Seeing me take on Gwyn, does it give you the confidence to jump into Elden Ring with me?
Confidence isn't the right word, but it does. Yeah, I do get that thing where I'm like, I could probably do it. I just don't know if I want to. Like, I think the word we often come back around to, and it's a word that Jonesy uses a lot as well to describe his own gaming experience, is patience or lack thereof. And like, yeah, like I don't think it's a question of can I, or like in Josie's case, can we? It's a question of like, will we? And
Will we? Yeah.
I don't know what the answer to that is yet. Ask me again in February. Or February. But in the meantime, before we get to February,
what about you, big man?
I have played some other things, and in the little the document that we all share where we can write what we've been up to, I wrote that I've been playing some Forza Horizon 5, like Jonesy, and I have been playing some Call of Duty Vanguard, which is also true. But I've got to be honest that writing that was a bit of a white lie. Because I told you guys before we started recording that I did have a little secret to unveil. And whilst you guessed incorrectly that I might have shaved my head or got a tattoo, the secret is actually that alongside games like Forza and Vanguard, and I was going to do this for episode 100, but we've got some other very exciting plans for that episode that everyone should look forward to.
Hopefully.
I've played about 30 hours of Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, 30 hours.
Yeah.
Nice.
30 hours. Yes,
I just,
bro.
like, there was a little sort of like gap in my market, and I was like, do you know what? Fine, let's.
Oh my
let's
god,
bust
I can't wait
out.
for this. This is so good. Yes.
And, yeah, I wasn't. So that's the thing. I wasn't sure what to bust out for. Like, is it like a episode 100 thing? Is it an end of the year thing? And the more we had a little meeting, a little brainstorm session earlier this week, the three of us offline, to kind of discuss all the content and exciting things we want to make for people, both on the YouTube channel and on the Patreon. Between now and the end of the year, and I just kind of thought, you know what, this isn't premium. This is something we can just have a chat about now. So
yeah. So can I just jump in here before you talk about Cyberpunk and just mention that for the 100th episode, if you guys could leave comments down below about what your favorite Super Show moment was, not ATG moment or ATG Super Show, just like Super Show podcast. Let us know what your favorite moment was. If you can give us an episode reference, that would be good, but not required. It does make our lives easier. But yeah, it's going to feed into what we're hoping to kind of do with the 100th episode. But yeah, go ahead. Cyberpunk. I want to fucking hear it.
Oh man, it's an interesting.
There's a lot to unpack, isn't it? Yeah,
there is a lot to unpack, and look, I'll be real with you. We can't do a full unpacking because the game's
That's
old.
what Patreon's for, baby.
I mean, yeah, but also like you guys haven't played it in a little while now, and you know,
yeah.
What I'll say is that like I am uniquely lucky in that I kind of have been able to play this game in something of a vacuum. Not only because I didn't tell anyone that I was playing it and hadn't had any conversations about it yet, but also because people have they've stopped talking about Cyberpunk one way or another.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't have that thing of like I wasn't pre-ordered and I didn't start playing it at midnight and I'm not still sat in a Cyberpunk 2077 chair. So I got to just see the game for what it is, plus not to mention like fucking almost a year of patches and hotfixes, right?
Yeah.
And the net result's that I really like it. Yeah, I think it's a very good game, and that might be controversial to say. I know we had a little chat last week.
It's true. It's a damn good game.
No, but I remember
the thing
last
is
week.
that but Jonesy and I have always said that there's a good game there. It's just
I agree.
It's not the game that people think it is.
It's just, I remember last week when the Game Awards nominated it for Best RPG, and like some people were like, it shouldn't be nominated. And I guess I don't have a hot take on that. All I can say is that I think it is good. I think
the point was that it shouldn't be like it would be weird for it to win. We said it should definitely be nominated, but it would be weird to win.
Yeah, that was our take. But I know some people's take were saying like, as an RPG, actually, as you get down to it, it's not very good.
Like a lot of the RPG systems, I'm actually not engaging with that much.
And crafting. Have you crafted anything yet?
Do you know what? No. One of the things I will say about the crafting was I don't think there's any benefit to the crafting in terms of like consumable items or base weapons. There is a system in the game where there is a type of weapon that is considered iconic. It's not a denotion of rarity; it's a separate denotion, and those weapons can be upgraded to the next tier of rarity to kind of keep them relevant to you and your character throughout your playthrough. That's one use to crafting, but I'm at the point now where I'd need to invest perk points into that skill tree to continue to do that, and I'm not. But like the skill tree itself and the way I'm engaging with some of those systems, that's not really what I'm enjoying about it. I think I'm enjoying the writing and the characters, and I'm enjoying going around and doing things and talking to people and crazy shenanigans happen. Yeah, and I've done a lot of side stuff, so I haven't seen all the main story yet.
So have you done like the Pan Am stuff and the
like I don't know. Again, the way it felt like for me was
whereabouts are you in the story?
So when you complete Act 1 and V is kind of like let loose on the city again with a greater understanding of his current predicament, it felt like there were 3 prongs of story that opened up. One involved looking for Evelyn Parker, the doll who had helped assemble the brain dance of Konpeki Plaza. So many weird words that are like ingrained in my head now that other people probably forgot about 6 months ago. Then there's
you're like Jonesy kind of coming to a meme about a year and a half later.
Literally, yeah. The Pan Am and Rogue stuff, and in the last one, so I've done those 2 essentially. And the thing I haven't really acted on in terms of main quest stuff is that Takamura, who's the bodyguard.
Takamura stuff is cool, man. Takamura is such a baller character.
He started texting me haikus, so I'm like, I'm gonna fucking ignore you for a little while. You're just gonna stand in that alleyway for 40 hours. Sorry, buddy. I've got some bitch to fuck out in the Badlands. And fucker, I did.
Wow.
Does it make you like looking back on conversations we had about Cyberpunk like earlier in the year? Does it make you have a different opinion from what you were saying at that time? Because I know there was because I think you'd read a lot of stuff and you'd seen a lot of stuff where you were very critical about it, and you were sort of saying about how bad it was, or not the game was, but you were saying about how bad it was that a game
oh my God,
could be released in that state.
The penny's just dropped, Jonesy.
What?
Jamie's got a job at CD Projekt Red, and they're paying him to.
So the first thing he had to do was finish.
Yeah, exactly. Step aside, Manscaped.
Because I think one of the things that a lot of people who didn't play the game at the time, but who saw a lot of the memes and followed a lot of the Reddit threads and things, there seemed to be a weird disconnect where people were like reading about how bad a lot of the stuff was in the game, and then were saying, "Wow, I can't believe they did this. This is terrible." But then if you actually play it, I think there's a weird disconnection where, like Chris and I were saying at the time, it's weird because it's a damn good game, but there's so much bad like stuff in it as well. But it can put you in a weird position. Do you feel like your position on that has changed?
Somewhat.
Like it's nowhere near as bad as you thought, or it's like...
Well, it's hard, right? It's patched now. Like
it's
still not
also,
great.
It's the same thing where like I was in the chat in one of Chris's live streams as he was fighting Gwyn, and someone made the comment like, "Oh, Jamie, I wish you'd been more hard on the GTA trilogy." And that's kind of the same thing, right? Which, like, there are a lot of people who shared those memes and shared those pictures and are shitting on Rockstar. And there are a significantly smaller number of people who have been playing those games. And that's why, like, I'm in the latter camp and was maybe less harsh on them, because I thought that, as I've said from the beginning, I thought fundamentally they were still the same experiences and that I liked that element of it. I think there's a bit of that with Cyberpunk. I think the thing was, when I spoke to guys like you, and we sat on the podcast and you guys told me, I remember you talked about that core narrative a lot at the time and how that was engaging and you wanted to see it through. And I always bought into that idea and took that at face value. The thing that I remember being a little bit cynical about back at the time was I remember that reviews came out. All these journalists reviewed it in admittedly very specific, under very specific circumstances on high-end PCs, and they weren't allowed to use their own footage in their reviews and so on and so forth.
Right.
But there were a lot of people that came out the gates giving it 9s and 10s, and they were waxing lyrical. Then it felt, as we, the general public, slowly realized what kind of a product it was, they all kind of like went, oh, yeah, that review, never heard of it. And I thought one of the strangest things was that like one of the most critically acclaimed games of the year was released in December, and like 2 weeks later when game award shows started happening, no one was talking about Cyberpunk for game of the year, despite if you looked at what those journalists were saying compared to other games it could have been. And I thought that they were kind of like hiding behind the public response. And one thing I'll say now is that like I'm a little bit more like appreciative that someone could have played this and be like, damn, this is a 9 out of 10. It's flawed, but I really like it. Because that's what I think. It's flawed, but I really like it. Is it a 9 out of 10 for me? Not necessarily. And when there have been flaws, especially now that it's a relatively bug-free experience, not totally bug-free, absolutely not totally bug-free, but like less buggy experience, the problems that I've got with it seem louder. And I think they took step backs from The Witcher 3 in some respects. I think in terms of pacing and structure and the way some mechanics, both in terms of gameplay mechanics and also narrative elements are introduced, some of that stuff is really sketchy. Like one of the first things that like pissed me off, and I know it's like a side effect of like non-linear game design, but it is totally avoidable. Cutscene in V's apartment, first interaction with Johnny Silverhand when he's in your head. Johnny Silverhand essentially tries to kill you. You're slamming your head against the window. You're crawling. You're putting pills in your mouth. You wake up in the shower, all washed up. Johnny Silverhand's gone. Go down to the basement. Get in my car. Delamain car smashes into me. And V goes, whoa, Johnny, did you see that? It's like, hang on a second. The only interaction I've had with you was a 5-minute sequence of you trying to kill me. Like how we jump in, like stuff like that still like bothers me because that's structural things that can be avoided.
Right. Like, how great was that Delamain mission?
I mean, again, like it's great, but then like you get a quest to go to the Delamain offices. You get a little bit more insight into like the that company and how Delamain as an AI construct works, and then you get given a glorified collectibles side quest, like 10 of them at once. And yes, like all of those cars had their own personality, but it's still just like still a collectible side quest. And like
I thought it was
like
fun.
and like and it's the same like whether there's an assault over there and there's a crime being reported over there and there's a most wanted person over there and there's a gig over there, and a lot of them are just like go here and shoot everyone.
Yeah,
you know, like,
right? Yeah.
And those are the things that I think are like. Do you remember when the dust had settled on Cyberpunk a little bit and people started to explore that open world and was like, the reality is it's not a game-changing open world game. It's just an open world game. That's still where Cyberpunk falls down a little bit. It's that like a lot of that side content is really hashed out. And even, I'll say, this might be controversial, some of the side jobs got a lot of praise early on, like talking about like the guy whose crotch is on fire and you have to take to a ripper dock and stuff like that. I think a lot of that stuff was also has not been as engaging as people made out to be at the time.
I think some of those get quite hit and miss, to be fair.
Yeah. That's a fair way of putting it, hit and miss. But
definitely, I'd say they're definitely hit and miss because some of those felt absolutely wicked for me. Like they felt like truly emergent parts of like open world gameplay that I was. So what like my favorite to this day is still the your neighbor.
Yeah.
Who, even if you didn't engage with that whole bit where like the police are knocking on his door and you wouldn't even have anything to do with it, and if you go through it and you follow the threads, like it sort of becomes like a whole side thing, but. That they're too few and far between, and the ones that are more, I think, are more apparent are the ones that are like, you know, here's a side quest, and you literally go and talk to person to start quest and do all that. So yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I do think there was some of those elements as well, but
yeah, I guess I think to wrap up, like the reason why I think I'm enjoying it is that I remember when The Witcher 3 came out, very long game. Lots going on, lots of quests, lots of characters. And the thing that people still talk about to this day sometimes and refer back to as like a great chunk of The Witcher 3 is the Bloody Barren quest arc, which is one of the points in The Witcher 3 where the main narrative thread as you're searching for Ciri kind of splits. You have like a few different places you can go, and going to a certain place will start a chain of events and quests that all like linger around a certain area and involve a certain number of people. Cyberpunk does that as well, where it kind of like cobbles together a first act and a prologue, admittedly with some very cool sequences, then kind of lets you, uses every excuse in the book to let you loose as quickly as possible and gives you different arcs to follow. And the first arc I followed, as I said earlier, was the one involving Evelyn Parker, who is essentially a prostitute who is kind of like your connection to the thing that you're stealing in the heist that people might have heard referred to at the beginning of the game. That whole sequence of quests, one sort of like directly leading into another, to linking up with Judy to find out where Evelyn is, then getting like your first lead. I don't know if you guys remember going to like that dollhouse where they tap into your subconscious and kind of like there are dolls that can create an experience that's like tailored to your desires. And like meeting a significant person there, and then them leading you to a Ripper Doc, who's another significant character. Then it's another, like everything in a very bloody Barren-esque fashion. When they start daisy chaining those main narrative quests together, and you get those unique characters and those unique moments, that's when it's at its strongest, and that's when I was most engaged. And it seems weird to praise a game where I think so much of the stuff around it is either bad or superfluous. Not bad, but underwhelming or superfluous. But I think there's a lot to like at the core or at the heart of Cyberpunk.
So do you get the one comment that I remember I said, and I think I got some flack for it at the time, was this game would be much better as a linear or at least a hub world game.
What? Like kinda. I don't have a pretty solution as to how you change that world from what it is to like what you're pitching, but I can see what you mean in that, like, because like you said, the best part of it is that main narrative thread. Yeah, like when I took to myself put aside 2 hours between the Evelyn arc and the Pan Am and Rogue arc to drive a guy with a burning dick to a Ripper Doc and help a monk who had been kidnapped by Maelstrom, and they were. And find a cyber psycho that had got a ritual that had gone wrong, and all these kind of things. They were engaging enough to like warrant their existence and warrant the fact that I found them and completed them. But like, I could have just gone from A to B. If I'm being honest with myself, like I didn't need that stuff necessarily. There's nothing about like traversing Night City that like is immediately engaging or eye-catching in the way that other better open world games have created. And I think the overall progression is fine, but again, like I'm not gagging for like the next weapon. I walk over 95% of the weapons that drop now because like, oh, it's that same copperhead assault rifle that I've seen 3,000 of, and this one is also worse than the one I'm holding. Go figure. And like leveling up, it's like, oh, I've got 50 perk points. Do I want 3% more headshot damage with a silenced pistol when I'm crouching? Or would I like my breaching when I hack do I want to be able to hack a bunch of security cameras that are all connected to one another and turn them all off for 3 minutes? When it's like, hang on a second, I don't even feel like I know that much about quick hacking because the game in the tutorialized section spent more time explaining the fundamentals of stealth gameplay to me than it did explain the fundamentals of hacking when I know far more about one than the other going into this game. I don't need to know how to crouch and walk up behind someone and strangle them and put them in the box. I might like a little bit more time to understand why I should be holding LB, why I should be scanning people, why I should be doing a breach to take one RAM slot off the quick hacks and then pinging to find where people are. And it's like, tell me more about that. I don't understand how that is. What do you mean I can go to a Ripper Doc and like buy different kinds of cyberware? Like, explain yourself. I know what guns are. I know what DPS is. Tell me what makes RAM come back faster.
There is a weird thing in that you can almost see the different ingredients that weren't quite ready to go in the mix because they sort of like they're still in the game but they don't really fit, and you're like, oh, this isn't quite done to completion.
They just kind of gloss over it, like Jamie says, like it's there, but don't worry about it.
You don't, and if you kind of if you go, oh, okay, I'm not really going to use that, you just don't use it for the whole game, which is why it almost goes back to that hilarious sort of review that I can't remember what publication it was, but everyone ripped the reviewer because they said she was it GameSpot? They said does she even know what she's talking about? Like, she didn't even engage with a whole system of an RPG, and she's a reviewer, and da 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 da. And then the game came out, and everyone went, "Oh yeah, she was totally right."
Yeah.
There are whole systems in this game that you can just completely ignore, and you can just crack on in any, like, in a completely different way, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
I could go to a Ripper Doc and spend $45,000 on a new quick hack that does 157 physical damage to someone after 3 seconds, and then it goes on a 30-second cooldown. But I've also got a sniper rifle that does 10,000 DPS. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Can I say one cool thing about playing Cyberpunk now, though, for anyone that's either held off or wants to come back to it at some point and stuff like that? It is fascinating. I don't know if I'm right here. I'm just going to guess. Playing a game where you can almost see the points where it used to break and now it doesn't. Like, I had a point where I had to get into an elevator and wait for another character to join me in said elevator. And I got to the elevator and turned around and realized that they were nowhere to be seen. I was like, oh, great, it's broken. Like, the quest is broken. I got to restart from checkpoint. And I was like, got my phone out, started Googling as to whether or not it was a bug and, like, looking at bugs and knowing about that mission. And then, like, a minute later, round the corner they come, they catch up, they get in the elevator and the lift shuts. And there was also one where I had defeated a certain enemy with a non-lethal weapon, and I got a text from a fixer saying that they had brought a vehicle, and I was presumably meant to put the body of the person in the back of the vehicle. And I started doing some looting and, like, put the body down, then picked it up and stuff like that. And basically the quest got bugged, and it thought the person was inside the building when I was already holding them. So I was like, oh no. So I put them on the floor and just hit them in the head with a samurai sword. And then it changed to, oh, you just completed the gig. Like, it feels like, in truth, like when Joji was talking about the clipping in Guardians of the Galaxy, it does feel like they've brute forced some fixes there. And you can almost still sense the quests that used to be buggy and how they've made sure they're not. That's what I was going to say.
Well, The Witcher 3 was terrible. Like, okay, I get that some people will go like, oh, what? They fixed it. I don't know what you complain about. But they and it, obviously from CD Projekt Red as well, the number of bugs, like game-ending bugs that they brute forced in The Witcher 3, and it's exactly like you described. Like, you'd get to a point where a guy's supposed to let you through a passageway that he's just opened, a secret passageway, and then he just stands there like this. And then in The Witcher, you can't walk past him, and you're like, dude, get out of my way. And then you, like, reload the game, and he's still there, and you can't get past him. And, like, so I had about 3 of these in The Witcher 3 where the game just stopped. I had to stop playing the game for months on end until they fixed that bug. And then the next time you play that bit, rather than the guy doing what he's supposed to do, opening the passage, moving out of the way and, like, walking with you, he'd just kind of go and then, like, flip out and then just disappear. And you'd go, I guess the passageway's clear now, and then you walk through the passageway, get to the other end, and the guy walks around the corner, just like you've said with the lift thing. And it's like, oh, they've just put some code in here that says, let the person through no matter the fuck what. Like, it doesn't matter if it looks awful, just do it.
You just reminded me again of another bit where an NPC that I just saved in a side mission was following me to a car that I was going to get him into, and he was going to drive off. And he was walking really slowly, so I was like, oh, I'm going to have to, like, walk and he'll follow me really slowly. And at one point I was like, what will happen if I sprint? And I started sprinting away from him and looked at the mini-map, and I could see the dot that represented him, like, skipping as it was, like, re-teleporting him, like, 3 feet behind me every time to make sure that, I guess, he didn't lose track of me or didn't get caught in an environment. And, like, I know brute forcing sounds like a bad word in that sense, but fuck me, I'm much rather be playing what I'm playing than what you guys played. I'll put it that way. I've seen one T-pose in 30 hours. One.
Yeah, no, that's good, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen any T-poses in my multiple hours.
True, actually. You had a very clean playthrough. But
then again, that also, like, blows my mind. Like, how is it so different? It's all the same build, right? Like,
but I guess what we need to do now, probably for an audience of no one, is that all 3 of us need to finish Cyberpunk 2077, and then maybe we get a bit of a spoiler cast going, because there's some interesting narrative things.
It took you almost a year to play it. Maybe it'll take us almost a year to finish it. So
yes,
I'm not. I will be honest. So I think I've played about 15 hours of it to this point. I think maybe a little bit more. Yeah. No.
How far did you get in the main quest in like generic terms?
So I did all the stuff with the drone going into the hotel vent stuff. I did all the stuff where you go and do the AI limos. I did some of the Takamura quest line.
How far
I
did you
completed
get in the Takamura? Because I feel like the Takamura quest line is like the main thread.
I can't think how far I went with that.
Did you do any of the Pan Am stuff in the battle?
Oh, I did all the Evelyn Parker stuff. I found the girl, and we pallied up, and then she came back to my place, and I did all of that. So maybe I'm further along than I think. Maybe I'm like 20 hours or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys remember, but I stopped playing on PlayStation because it was like I was hitting some major bugs, and it was like, this is bad, and I can't carry on like this. So I stopped playing, and then because they announced the fact that the PlayStation 5 update, like next gen version, was delayed, I bought it on PC. And so I have to start everything all over again. So I did start again, and I've replayed the first bit, and I'm up to the point where Jackie's dead again. And no, he's not. Is he dead?
For anyone, Jackie's dead again.
I don't even think. I think I'm almost up to the part where Jackie dies. I don't even think I'm past that yet. And then I was kind of thinking, I've done a lot of stuff past that point. Like I don't know if I'm ready to get back into just replaying like 15 hours of a game or 20 hours or whatever I'm up to yet. Like I needed a bit more break time before I committed to that. Yeah. But I think I'm getting there. I'm almost there. Like I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. I'm like, I think I might want to play some Cyberpunk. So
nice.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Hopefully soon. Maybe this Christmas period will be the time when I finish Cyberpunk.
Maybe. That would be somewhat funny. Like a whole year on. Like Christmas removed from when we were meant to do it. We finally get to see Cyberpunk 2077 in all of its glory. But shall we move on now and talk about a little bit of news to wrap up this podcast?
I think we should.
Do you know one game that we're never going to see in all its glory?
Oh, I'm very tired, so I'm not going to think of something. So just tell us.
I'm going to tell you that we're never going to see, in all likelihood at least, a Star Wars Battlefront 3 in all its glory.
Oh.
Because, get this, for the second time for this sub-series, for those of you that remember the PS2 iteration of the Star Wars Battlefront series.
So bloody good.
Yeah, it seems like 3 is not the magic number, because despite DICE having pitched the title to EA, it has been turned down due to licensing costs. I'm
actually quite surprised about this. I don't know why, but I kind of thought that Battlefront 2 was a bit dead and gone. But weirdly, in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how I started doing this, I've started watching people play Battlefront 2.
What? Where'd that come from?
That's weird.
Weirdly, For Honor as well.
For Honor.
I didn't expect either of
you know
those
what?
two.
I had a weird thing that I started watching some guy play where he was doing like one-on-one fights in For Honor. And I was getting quite into it. Like he's a very good player who was fighting other people. And
now the algorithm owns you.
And the algorithm was like, if you liked that, there's someone over here who does these like fights in Battlefront 2 where they play as the hero characters and they fight each other. And I weirdly got into that as well. And I was just watching people play as like all the different. I did because they have like Ray and stuff in it now as well in Battlefront 2. I was watching them.
They've done a lot of work on the game.
Yes,
and it looked quite fun. I was tempted. I'm not gonna lie.
And it was free on PlayStation.
PlayStation
Plus for a while.
I'm actually surprised that, again, with all the different ways that game has been free, I think it was on Epic as well, and it's also, or if you have Game Pass, you can play it because it's a part of EA Play. Like, I'm surprised that you've avoided playing that game in the past handful of years, Jonesy, because I feel like just about every other human on planet Earth has.
Well, no, I did. I've played it. I've played it a bit, but then I didn't.
But I mean, since it got better.
Every time I haven't really done it since it got better. But then it looks like it should be really fun again. So I'm like, maybe I want to play it, but apparently EA don't agree.
Well, it seems like the thing is that the issue, and this is one thing that obviously Ubisoft don't run into with their use of original IPs, licensing is the problem. And one past developer said it takes, quote, 20% more sales to make the same amount of money. And obviously, Battlefront 2 was...
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, it was probably, in the end, when it was all said and done, a success story for EA. But of course, that launch was not pretty. The reception of that launch was not pretty. And I wonder if there was just an element for EA where they looked at everything that they could get a team like DICE to do next and was just like, do you know what? We've got other Star Wars irons in the fire. We know that Respawn's sequel to Jedi Fallen Order will grace us at some point. Maybe this just wasn't the one. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I also think that like there's this issue, right? And you almost look at it in the Smash Brothers kind of way, where you say, okay, you got Smash Brothers Ultimate now,
Hmm.
where it's got like every fucking conceivable thing you could possibly imagine, except for Waluigi. But it's almost like, okay, when you release the next one, and it's almost like what I said with the Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
It's like you've added so much to this. And they've added so much to Battlefront 2. It's got like every single character, like all these different fucking modes. Like at some point, you got to say, well, where can you go from here?
Yeah, what does a third installment even look like?
You're right. Like,
You know,
what do we add to
and
this?
it's just kind of like maybe it's diminishing returns at that point, and you just keep the servers on for this older game that people are still playing.
Do you know what? I actually agree. I think the Battlefront, for me, when they reached that point where it's like, where do you go from here, was when I last played it and I realized you could get a Donald Glover Han Solo skin for Lando, and I was like, I'm done. Like we've made it.
I think they've got like all the main characters that you'd want. I mean,
right,
I'm not talking about like, oh, you know, this one fucking character in the background of this one obscure, fucking, you know.
And Mandalorian fans can just play Fortnite, so everyone's happy. I guess for EA as well is that when they look at what DICE can do, and again we come back to that licensing option, the licensing situation. The other option that EA have is to keep DICE working on the Battlefield series, which obviously they own outright as original IP.
Expect Hardline 2 to come out soon.
Well, apparently, based on what we understand, that is what DICE have begun working on next, is another project in the Battlefield series. What it ends up being, who knows? Hardline 2 would be funny.
Well, I think at this stage they just keep on working on Battlefront 2042. It would seem.
Well,
so.
Yeah,
you'd hope.
Yeah, in fact, that game had an interesting week as well, as Forza Mesmar, DICE's head of design across both franchises, that's Battlefront and Battlefield, has left the company following the release of Battlefield 2042. And although at the time of recording that game did supposedly get its first big patch today, it did also this week enter in and amongst, I should say, Steam's worst reviewed games of all time. It didn't take the top spot, which is still owned by eFootball 2022, but it was in like the top 10, top 15 worst games of all time on Steam, which is
brutal.
Rough.
Yeah.
One thing I loved about this dude leaving DICE though was it was one of those where it's like, oh, it's been in the plans for a long time. You know, I've been offered something amazing. I think he released a statement like, I've been offered such a great opportunity at another place. So, you know, I'm going there. And it's like,
Fortuitous.
Did they want to reconsider hiring you after the release of Battlefield 2042? Or are they still totally happy to have you? Or were you kind of pushed a little bit and now you've been offered something amazing that you can't turn down?
Or was it a consequence of he really wanted to do Battlefront 3 and they said no?
Who knows, man?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like DICE have somehow worked themselves into a worst of both worlds situation where Battlefront is a no-go and Battlefield it needs to win people over. And look, success stories, as we just talked about Battlefront 2, you know, they're a dime a dozen at the moment. 2042 can easily be turned around, and it sounds like Portal mode especially has the potential to be a huge draw for fans for years to come. But I personally, if they do go back to the Battlefield drawing board, I don't think I'd ever be saying this, but I wouldn't mind seeing something smaller in the future. You know, if the push for massive player counts, massive maps, massive map and landscape and environment altering events is what's going to create the potentially issues that they've had so far, I'd almost rather see them, you know.
I'll tell you what it's going to be.
Yeah?
Bad Company 3. And it's going to be single player.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, don't that's an instant hit. That's an instant hit. EA will do that at some point. They'll do it with Bad Company 3, with Need for Speed Underground 3. They'll pull at the heartstrings.
That's all they've got to do, man.
It is all they've got to do. Well, we'll keep tabs on Battlefield 2042, but it seems with the way it's launched, one place that we're not going to see it come up during the remainder of the year is any award shows. As they are now coming through thick and fast. Last week we talked about the nominations for Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, but this week we actually had a bunch of award winners courtesy of the Golden Joystick Awards 2021, which took place on Tuesday, in fact, the 32nd Golden Joystick Awards, for anyone keeping count, hosted by none other than Nolan North and Emily Rose. And I know who one of those people are.
Emily, I only know because I looked it up. Emily Rose is in Uncharted. I don't know who she plays though.
She's in
remember.
Uncharted. Interesting. And, if I looked it up, then I'd probably.
Do you know who else was in Uncharted?
Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg.
Nolan. No.
I thought maybe we were trying to get like a known racists kind of angle going. I thought we were, re-exploring that whole thing. Jonesy,
she plays Eleanor Fisher.
Elena. Is that the main chick? That's the girlfriend, right? The blonde one. Yeah, it's got to be.
Maybe.
I'm going to say it is. That's the main one. Well,
so at least they've brought back together Nolan North and Emily Fisher, for their characters obviously are together. So they brought them together to do the Golden Joystick Awards. There you go.
And what a Golden Joystick Awards it was! It's interesting. Last week we were able to pick apart the nominations, which was kind of easy because, again, they kind of had, broadly speaking, a 1 in 5 or a 1 in 6 chance to get most of the nominations right. With winners, it's a little bit more easy to kind of pick at the choices. For example, one thing that I don't know if people might think it's deserved, maybe we're not in the best position to speak on it, but the actual best game of the year, the outright best game of the year, Resident Evil Village, which caught me off guard a little bit. I feel am
I surprised?
Here's the question, fellas, when dealing with stuff like this. If not, then who? Right?
I mean,
just I kind of get the hype behind that game when it was coming out seemed kind of crazy. Like there was so many people talking about it, and everyone got obsessed with Lady Dimitrescu, and it's I think, and everyone seems to be totally into Resident Evil games the last couple of years. So I kind of get it, but at the same time,
games.
They are great games. But I'm kind of surprised that it got Game of the Year. But maybe I shouldn't be. I didn't play it, so there you go.
Yeah, it actually ended up being an interesting set of awards because they broke it out into so many categories that they kind of could give props in different ways. For example, breaking it out by platform meant that Metroid Dread and Psychonauts 2 could win their individual platform awards. That also, though slightly awkwardly, meant that Resident Evil Village, despite being cross-platform, ended up being the best PlayStation game of the year, meaning Returnal, Ratchet & Clank, and Deathloop could, broadly speaking, go suck on their own dicks. That said, best gaming hardware, PlayStation 5. That is a bold choice. Again, I will state up front.
It does come back around at like.
Well, yes. They gave the ultimate hardware of all time
of the year, though. Hold on, before we skip on, I'd say of the year. I think that's fair to say the PlayStation.
In what way
5
did the PlayStation? What way was in what way in 2021 was owning a PlayStation 5 better than owning a PC? Like I get, like Chris was saying, I get that they gave it ultimate hardware of all time to the PC, rightly so. But in what way did PS5 owners have a better year than a PC owner?
I think
because you could play Returnal and Ratchet.
Well, I was going to say because of PlayStation exclusives.
Well, yeah, but some of them, like Deathloop, could be played on PC, no problem. But
then I would say, I suppose I'm guessing that the reason they did it was because they're new, and you can look at the hardware and the UI, and you can look at the experience, and they can say, oh, that's cool, it's done something new. PC, it's going to be boring if PC wins it every year because, well, you can do whatever you want with PC. Also, if you average out PCs, because you can't just look at the best PC, you have to average them out if you're going to be fair.
That's bullshit.
Then there's a lot of crappy PCs.
That's bullshit.
So that's going to bring it down. Why is that bullshit? Why is that bullshit?
That's like saying, oh, well, the best food in the world can't be steak because if you get all the bad steaks and all the poorly cooked steaks up together and divide them by the sum of all steaks, then actually an average steak is really bad because it's chewy. So I don't care if you just ate a prime wagyu ribeye because it's actually being dragged down by that 99p steak over there.
You make a great point. If you said, what is the best food? And you said steak, you'd have to justify it. You couldn't say, well, I had an incredible Wagyu beef steak last week. Someone could say, well, I had a stringy old sirloin. You have to average it out. Of course you do.
If I can give my reasoning why I actually think that, yes, PlayStation could potentially have deserved it, is because you look at the bang for buck that you get, if you can ever get your hands on one. But the price differential and what you have to spec a PC to do similar things, I think that's probably where they're kind of looking at it. That's if I were a judge on the Golden.
That's my favorite Beyonce song.
Yeah, if I were a judge. that's probably the reasoning that I would probably look at. I'd say like, hey, you know what? You're getting these fast SSD load times. You're getting like however much fucking teraflopping ding dongs. Cool, you know.
Yeah. Can I? I forgot. So I'm going to put one other thing on cherry on top as well as to why PC should not have won it for this year, and not even like why PlayStation 5 should have. I know what you're going to say. Shouldn't have is that despite PlayStation 5s being difficult to get hold of and Xbox being difficult to get hold of, graphics cards were absolutely impossible to get hold of this year, and it meant that the PlayStation,
Jonesy,
the PC has been set back.
No, you're right. You're right, Jonesy.
Years.
You're right, Jonesy. But did you get a new GPU this year?
Do you know how goddamn hard it was for me to get?
No, but hold on. But did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
ask
you a question. Let me ask you another question.
And I had the money to get it as well.
Let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
Did I manage to get a PS5?
You could have done. You chose not to.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, we had the conversation multiple times that you decided you weren't going to get one.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it.
I even said, dude,
every single day this week I've
available.
been looking, especially now that they've gone on PlayStation Direct. Like
I told you, I said that there's a PlayStation 5 near me available. Do you want me to get it for you? And you said no, thank you.
Because at the time I couldn't afford it, not because I didn't want it.
But that goes. I didn't see a 3090 for sale that I could have picked you up.
I don't know. We don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but I disagree. I don't think that's not a reason to discount the platform.
Would you hold on, one more
has
question?
Determined, yeah.
Would you give it to PC every year?
Yes.
But like
apart from there will be a few years historically where I wouldn't give it to the PC.
Like when the Switch launched, maybe give it to
Switch. But
then wouldn't it become a non-award then, and then you just make
what?
Yes,
the year the Switch launched.
I think.
Totally, dude.
I think that broadly speaking, the best gaming hardware award is redundant. Yeah, by and large.
Yeah.
Oh, because you mean because how novel the Switch was.
By and large, yeah. We're talking like the PlayStation exclusives that I got to play on my PS5 that PC owners couldn't touch at all. Off the top of my head, were things like Ratchet and Clank and what was the other one? Returnal. Two games that, in Golden Joystick's own estimation, weren't good enough to even win the PlayStation Game of the Year, which they gave to a cross-platform game in Resident Evil. So, like,
to be fair, when I say I suppose I'm thinking not just of the year, I'm thinking like November last year on to like the 2021 as well, because of the launch of the PlayStation 5.
Sorry, Jonesy, there's a reason that Nolan North and Emily Rose are up on that stage and you're not. It's because you just don't get the way the Golden Joysticks work. It's as simple as that. But Chris, I feel like you might be a little bit more in tune to the way the Golden Joysticks do their things, because not just do you understand the power and the prowess of the PC, but also I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that not only did one of your most anticipated games of next year, Elden Ring, win the Most Wanted Game Award, but also the Golden Joysticks took it upon themselves to award the ultimate game of all time, which is a very bold and brave undertaking. But they've done it. They've put their heads together. And the end result, Chris, is none other than the game that you finished on stream this week. It's Dark Souls. Are you in agreement?
I kind of feel like I can't be in agreement because on this very podcast, maybe like 4 or 5 episodes ago, we ripped into the fact that who was at IGN, had their poll of like, what is the best game of ever? And I think it was God of War that got it. And I love God of War. It was my game of the year at the time. I love Dark Souls and Souls-likes.
Would you say that year the PlayStation should have won the gaming hardware of the year because it was a PlayStation exclusive?
No.
Well, actually, because I'm thinking there were a lot of things that were exclusive that year. Spider-Man wasn't on PC that year. Red Dead Redemption 2 wasn't even on PC that year.
Yeah. But my point being, like, as good as they are, I still have to say that it is an unquantifiable thing that you shouldn't even try to quantify.
I completely agree.
Yes. Like you can't. There's no way. You know what? You want to say ultimate game of all time? Say ultimate RPG of all time. And then you can have a little bit of kind of like weight behind your argument, because you're saying, hey, like, it's not a racing game. It's not an open world game.
So It sounds like what you're saying, Chris, is if a group of individuals wanted to determine the best game ever, they should break it down by genres
by
and
genre.
subgenres.
By genre.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and
such
even
as
then,
first-person shooter, maybe even open-world game. I don't know.
But then even then, I feel like they should bring multiple candidates to the table and discuss the pros and cons of each.
Yes.
Of each.
And I think that they shouldn't be definitive in their answer either, and leave it to be an open-ended question.
Yeah,
even offer it to like the audience maybe to join in as well and to
Good idea.
Put some of their thoughts.
Why
forward.
hasn't someone done this before?
Yeah,
I don't
madness.
know. But I mean, we can start taking a step towards that by asking our audience to get involved. And of course, as we approach the end of the year, why not let us know your games of the year and what you thought of the Golden Joystick Awards in particular, and whether or not you think you could declare an ultimate game of all time. And if you're feeling ballsy enough, then why not let us know what it is? And hey, maybe we'll pick it as the comment of the week in next week's episode. Oh no, not next week's episode, but probably the week after's. And then we can rip you apart and we can laugh at you and humiliate you in front of everyone. And if that's your kink, then you'll have a great time.
Wow.
But otherwise, lads, I think I'm just about ready to put a bow on this podcast. How are you feeling?
Fucking delicious. I'm feeling easy breezy. But you know why? Because I sprayed some of that ball toner on my balls as we're going through this podcast, and
nice.
It's feeling lubricated, fellas.
That's
it's feeling perked up. You know, like how you see like perky nipples. Like if you imagine if my balls had nipples, Greg, they'd be perky right now.
So vision.
And you too can have your balls feeling ready to be milked by heading over to manscaped.com and using the code SuperShow. Once again, you can get 20% off your order and free shipping. That's manscaped.com and the code SuperShow. Thank you very much for Manscaped for supporting the podcast. And thank you to all of you for making it through to the end of this huge, fantastic, amazing, and super memorable episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can like the video, make sure you subscribe because we've got some very cool content hitting the YouTube very shortly. If you're listening on an audio platform, then maybe give us a 5-star rating if that's an option to you. And remember, we also love the very caring support that our patrons show us over on patreon.com/SuperShow. And if you sign up, you can get access to all kinds of Patreon exclusive content. And I promise we have got some very cool stuff that we are cooking up that will be dropping in the next few weeks. So there's never been a better time to head over to patreon.com/SuperShow and show your support. Lads, any ideas for a little code word that we can give the folks at home to leave as a comment? Chris, you're kind of half nodding. I can't tell if that's a nodding because you've got an idea.
Well,
a rumbling.
I was going to say how can you type up?
You know what? That could be the challenge: is that we could just see different people's interpretations of how that noise would be spelt.
Perhaps. Maybe didn't want you to actually choose it. It's just a bit of a handed joke.
I'm just. You know what? I'm a supportive individual. My friends come up with ideas.
You're just rolling with the homies, yeah.
I'm a carry, you know.
Oh, and I'm carrying the carry. So there we go.
Does that mean we've got a code word? Does that mean we need a different one?
Can I put forward a code question? Can people tell us that what? If we held Jamie down and we had the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 in hand, what should we shave first?
Oh, that I like.
Okay, there you have
it. It would take both of us to hold Jamie down to shave him, but hypothetically, if we could get our hands on Jamie in the near future, what should we shave of him?
No, but that's based on the assumption that I would resist your advances. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
He's being held down. He's like,
welcome.
Stop it! No.
Well, there you go.
Don't do this.
Folks at home, let us know in the comments down below which part should be shaved first. And while I remember, actually also, if you have any memorable highlights, moments, quotes, hot takes, arguments that you can remember and recall from the last 99 episodes of the Super Show, then please do also leave us a comment letting us know what it is. And if you remember which episode it's from, even better, because it's less of the hours of our own voices that we have to listen to in the next 7 days. Good God.
I've got one. I just thought of one.
There we go. Let's hear it.
That time Jamie was wrong about the PlayStation.
Okay, you know what? End of podcast.
Just cut it there.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.